Hi, my name's Dominic. I'm from a company called Orelia, and I'm the sales manager. So I've just got a bit of a presentation to you about our sort of experiences of export to date. Where should I start trading is the title of the presentation. So we're not experts on exporting, but we have been on a bit of a journey. So it's just really to share our experiences with you today about what we've done well, what's worked for us and what hasn't worked for us over the last couple of years. Just give you a bit of an introduction on our business to start with. Our company is called Orelia, and we produce mainly costume and fashion jewellery. We also produce some accessories and some fine jewellery as well. We're a small, medium-sized enterprise with 35 employees in total. 20 of those are office-based, and we have another 15 employees who are out in Topshop stores where we have concessions in Topshop stores across the UK. We also have a team of sales agents and distributors in the UK and around the world, across Europe, places like Japan as well. The business is really divided into retail. So we have retail concession, which is stores within Topshop. We're in about 20 stores in the UK, and we're in about 4 stores in the States as well. And then we have wholesale Orelia, which is when we sell to the smaller businesses, the independents, the groups of department stores, that kind of thing, where we sell wholesale to them across the world, really. We also produce some private label product where we make jewellery for the high street, places in the UK and internationally as well, which doesn't come under our brand name Orelia, which comes under owned by our private label. And our export journey now has probably been about 2 years. We've done a bit of exporting for the past 6 or 7 years, but we've really started to focus on it for the last 2 years, which is mainly my role within the business. This just shows a couple of slides here just to show the kind of product that we do. So this is Into the Light, which is one of our spring collections. And as I say, it's costume jewellery, but we do use sort of semi-precious stones and Swarovski crystals as well. This is another collection we're doing currently called Empress. This is our more summery collection called Summer Solstice. And then, like I say, we do a fine range as well, which is sterling silver jewellery and 18-karat gold and 18-karat rose gold plating. So export, where are we now? So we've focused on export for around the past 2 years. Currently, export makes up about 30% of our turnover. By the end of 2017, we expect it to be about 65% of our turnover. So all the growth is in international markets. That's how we feel at the moment. Main overseas markets for us are the USA, where we have Topshop stores, then places in Europe like Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium, Germany, Spain, and also Japan as well is quite a strong market for us at the moment. We've done export in 2 ways. We've been proactive, so my job is really to bring in new partners, so new agents, new distributors, new franchisees, and then also we are reactive. So being in Topshop, we have a huge shopping shop on Topshop Oxford Circus, which is about 385 square metres within the store. So there we get approached by a lot of buyers from all over the world as well. Why export? I suppose there are a few questions. Why would you want to export? You can extend the product life cycle that way. If in your domestic market your sales are starting to plateau and you're not seeing that growth that you might have seen previously, it might be a good time to think about exporting. The domestic market may be saturated. In the UK, certainly, there's a lot of competition. So you can look at markets where you can make inroads and build your business that way. An increase in revenue. As a business, we want to be able to survive, so the more business that we're doing and the more different people we're doing business with, the more chance we have of long-term survival. Of course, we want to sell more goods, so we want to sell more and more products, so we need more customers to do that, which obviously helps being in more and more markets as well. Diversifying the product range. There may be product types that aren't purchased in the UK or in your domestic market that you can see there's a market for in the Middle East or in Asia, so you can diversify your product range that way. And there might be a big demand for your kind of product in certain markets as well, so that's a good reason to want to export. You can also achieve higher margins potentially. So in some places, like for instance in the USA, we make probably a slightly better margin than we do in the UK. In the Middle East, we probably make a better margin, and in Asia as well. So we're selling our products over there, and once we take into account all the costs, we're probably making a slightly better margin. Also, the local economy could be quite tough as well, so that might be a time to look at places like Australia, for instance, where they haven't had any negativity or recession or that kind of thing. And this is just a couple of pictures of our Topshop Oxford Street concession. So that's in the Oxford Street store, and it's about 385 square metres, so that's our kind of flagship store. That's quite a good platform for us to grow the business in the UK and overseas. So our export strategy, like I say, we're not experts, but for the last 2 years we've been doing exporting quite seriously, and just a few things that we've done that might help you with your businesses as well. The main reason was to build our business internationally and to protect our future. That's the main reason why we wanted to export. And being a small business, we thought you've got to be realistic and just focus on 1 or 2 key markets at any one time. If you try and spread yourself too thinly, then you're not going to be able to achieve what you want to do with exporting, because you're going to be trying to juggle too many plates, so to speak. Our philosophy is, or what we'd like to do, is to work directly in each market with 1 or 2 of the bigger accounts, so maybe a big department store, a big fashion chain, a big online customer, and then look at working with agents and distributors as well for the smaller businesses, so the independents, the smaller groups of stores. And for us, agents and distributors have been brilliant. They've really helped us to grow the business internationally. They're well contacted in the markets. Obviously, geographically, they're located in the markets. They understand the language, the culture, all that kind of thing. So, for a personal level, agents and distributors have been really useful for us. So, exhibit at trade fairs. Again, you can dip your toe in the water. So you can go to a trade fair in the States or in Germany or France, and it gives you an idea of how your product's perceived in that particular market. So it gives you a chance to test the market. And then obviously over time you go to more trade fairs, you pick up more customers, and then your regular customers who you may not have an agent in France or Germany, but they will order from you every season at that trade fair if you keep going and keep visiting. Don't be disheartened if the first few trade fairs are disappointing, because it takes time, like it does with anything, to build up a business in a new market and to gain success and sort of gain exposure as well. So doing your research is obviously key. We're a small business, so we haven't got a massive amount of money to pump into these things, especially when we started. So making sure that you do the research and that you've got all the information you need before making any investment into any export decisions. So if you're currently trading in any markets, you might have stockists, so you might have a few boutiques in Germany or the Netherlands or USA. So you've got half a feeling that your product's going to work well in that market. And if you've got a business-to-consumer website, obviously from your sales there, you can see that your products are selling well in Asia or in Germany or whatever. So that gives you a first idea of where your products might be suitable for. Geography-wise or sort of logistically, I would recommend just choosing markets that are close to you. So don't just start to think, oh, we'll go export, let's export to China or the USA, unless you've got good reason to do so. If, for instance, from the UK you can fly to France or the Netherlands or Germany, and you can go for meetings and return back the same day, you can probably get a flight for £150 rather than trying to go to America or Australia, where it's going to cost you thousands of pounds. Also, once you've got stores up and running or agents and distributors, in European markets you can get there and back in a day again, so you can visit more regularly and keep more of a hand on the business and how it's all progressing for you. Language, could this be a problem? Obviously in Europe it's very close to home, but there's also lots of diversity of language. We've not found that to be a problem. All our agents and distributors that we have all speak really good English, but we don't speak any other languages, so that can be a bit of a difficulty. But we've found it not to be too much of a problem on the language side. Import tax and duties, just make sure you're aware of all the costs. Obviously importing to places like Brazil or to the States or China or Japan or Russia can be expensive, but can also be, there's a lot of red tape to go through. So just make sure you're aware of all the imports and taxes, and also customs. Try and find out what you need to do with the local customs to enable your goods to flow through without any stoppages, that kind of thing. And pricing of your products as well for the research. Can you achieve a higher margin? Or you might need to reduce the price, but still reducing your retail price, but still maintaining some kind of margin to work in that market. If you start in the EU, you only need to set one pricing structure, which is in euros. But if you start in lots of different countries outside of Europe, then you've got to have pricing in Australian dollars, American dollars, Chinese yen, Japanese yen, all that kind of thing. So it just becomes a bit more, not confusing, but probably just a bit more hard work to set everything up. Currency fluctuations as well. So at the moment the pound's very strong, which can obviously make export a bit more difficult because the prices are higher for the person who's buying them in the overseas market. So it's great that we've got a strong pound, but it can hinder exporting a little bit. Shouldn't be too much of a problem, but just to be aware of. Plan market visits as well. So if there's markets that you are interested in exporting, go and visit the markets, go and see the stores, or visit the trade fairs, or just try and link in over there with as many people as you can. So when you do eventually start to export, you've got some information to back it all up. With regard to the UKTI, they do something called OMIS, which is a research plan and programme that they'll carry out for you. And I think there's a cost related to a business for that, but they'll research a market. And for us in the past, we've researched France, Germany and Spain, and they've put us in touch with a lot of different buyers, looked into the market to see if our product was suitable, all that kind of thing. So that's with the UKTI, and that's called OMIS. Again, trade fairs. Go to trade fairs and just speak to as many people as you can. Speak to exhibitors, speak to UK exhibitors if you're from the UK, and see how they're getting on at those shows. And you'll often find that the UKFT or the UKTI may have a stand at the international shows as well. So you can just speak to as many people as you can to help you to make your decisions. Planning. So, like I said earlier, just being a small business for us, planning is key, and making it achievable, not just trying to overface yourself with too many things. So I would just suggest targeting 1 or 2 local markets initially, based on the desk research that you've done, and visit those markets, visit the store groups, the key customers, the trade fairs, as I just said before. And if you can look for potential partners at this stage, when you go and do your market visit, then hopefully you can tie that in with some meetings with different store groups or agents or distributors or that kind of thing. And also, of course, by visiting the market, you can ensure there's a place for your products within that chosen market. Also, competitors. With a market visit, you can see who your competitors might be. For us, with jewellery, who's competing in our price point and that kind of thing. And once you've got a strategy, just action that strategy and just stay focused to it. So try not to get carried away by doing too many different things. Have a plan and try and stick to that as much as you can. So where to sell fashion goods? So in our experience, there's obviously there's a whole world out there of places to go and export, but from our experience, there's some really good European markets to start exporting with. And from the UK, like I said before, they're really close to home. So for us, markets that's successful are Germany. Just the sheer size of Germany and the amount of big cities and towns they have there, and obviously the currency is still very strong as well, makes that a really good market, or potentially good market, depending on your products. Belgium's been great for us, been well received over there. We're in some department stores as well. We run some concessions in some department store group called Inno, which is a Belgian department store. The Netherlands, that's our biggest market outside of the UK at the moment. We're in a department store over there called De Bijenkorf, which is owned by Selfridges. We're in all their stores across the Netherlands, and we have great agents over there. So we probably have about another 70 or 80 stockists in the Netherlands on top of De Bijenkorf as well. In the Netherlands, there's also another store group called V&D, who have also approached us, but we couldn't work with them with working with De Bijenkorf, but they're a good store group to try and get into. France, again, is really close to home, and it's a huge market for fashion. Our particular experience is France and Italy, which are two of traditionally the most fashionable markets. Our product hasn't really worked yet. We haven't found the right partners, and we haven't found the right stores yet. So France and Italy for us have been a little bit more difficult. Scandinavia, we started in Scandinavia kind of last season with an agency, and sales have just gone through the roof. So now we're looking for agents for Norway for this season and for Denmark as well. So that's Scandinavia. We didn't think it would work in Scandinavia because they're so creative themselves, they have so much design and that kind of thing, but our product from the UK has been really well received, which is great. Spain financially has been a bit more of a difficult market at the moment, but we have a great agent who are turning into a distributor for us, and we're looking to start working with El Corte Inglés as well, sort of later on this season, and we're changing our agents from an agency into a distributor, which takes the risk away from us and puts the risk onto the distributor. And we only do pro forma invoices in Spain, and that's due to the agency only wanting to do pro forma invoices. So we don't set up any credit accounts on their wishes, and they just do everything pro forma, because it is a little bit of a tricky market, but a great market and a large market as well to work with. Then for stage 2, at the moment we're looking at stage 2. Now we're more successful within Europe, so places like the USA, Canada. We have a distributor in Japan as well, and we're opening some of our own stores over there later this year, and we're going into a group of stores called Index, who are launching us into, I think, 110 stores later on this season. And then places like Australia as well. But personally, I would focus on the European markets first, just because of logistically they're a lot easier to travel to. unless you have a real good knowledge that your product's going to work in the US or Canada. So market entry options, there's several different options to enter the market, and for us, sales agents and distributors has been the best way, but again, that's just a personal thing. Excuse me. So with agents and good connected agencies, it's a great way for a small business to reach into new markets. As long as you work closely with those agents and manage them like an employee really. You have to go and visit them quite a lot, set them targets, be on the phone to them on a regular basis, and treat them like an employee. If you leave them to do their own thing, then sometimes just nothing will get done. So you've got to be always pushing them to make results, and make those regular visits to the market to meet the agents. Trade fairs, we've found great success in. This season we've done 7 trade fairs outside of the UK. I've not visited any of those trade fairs. We've just told the agents to organise it. We pay for the stand, so therefore they just manage it all, and they really want to bring the business in. So that's worked quite well for us. We also utilise our agents to chase payments. So especially in markets where there's a different language, we make sure that the agents know, and in the contract it's stated that they must be part of the process of chasing payments in from their customers. They request that we put the customers on 30 days, so with doing that they need to then take a bit of responsibility for bringing the money in as well. And don't be disheartened if you have poor performing agents. Give them a season. If things don't work out, you can usually shake hands and walk away. They don't want to sell a product that's not working for them either, so quite often you can just finish up after the first season. Or if you start to see a bit of a glimmer of hope, then maybe go to season 2, which in some cases we've done, and although season 1 wasn't huge, we ended up season 2, everything just started to happen. So, but don't be disheartened, just keep looking for new agents and keep trying to push the agents to get better results. And the contract, make sure you have a watertight contract. And we got ours written up by a solicitor, and it just makes sure for both parties, they know and you know what's expected of both parties, and also there's a get-out clause if things don't work out. So yeah, I would definitely recommend getting a strong contract set up as well. Distributor, very similar to agents. And I think they're really useful to work in the more further afield markets, such as the US, Asia and Australia. We have distributors in Spain who are just starting to be distributors. We have distributors in Japan and also in the Netherlands and Italy as well. Sorry, not the Netherlands, in Italy and Belgium. And they work really well for us. Markets with a struggling economy as well, the distributor can take up that risk away because they're responsible for pulling all the money in from the accounts. So it takes that risk away of you having to chase payments that are thousands of miles away. And ensure initially that you work on a prepayment with a distributor. Don't entrust them in the first season and find yourself, with them owing you £40,000-50,000, because we did that in Italy, and the guy then couldn't pay his bills, and so therefore he eventually paid them off, but it's £40,000 that we didn't get back initially when we needed it. A good thing about distributors as well is they'll often buy in bulk. So once a market's set up, then the distributor will buy lots of product from you, and they'll hopefully pay for it all up front or within 30 days. So therefore that's really great for your business, good news for your business. And if you're thinking about launching any international concessions, having a distributor to do this for you means that they'll be so closely involved that they'll have to make it work. Within markets such as, say, in Spain or Italy, you can't visit those markets every week to check on stock levels, to speak to store staff. So if you can get a distributor behind you to manage that concession, and then the chances of success are far higher, I think. Licensing and franchising. Licensing is an area I don't know too much about, and a small business just starting up, I wouldn't really have thought that's much of an option. It wasn't for us anyway, when you're just starting out on export. It certainly could be when the brand is more established at a later date. But franchising, we're just about to launch 10 stores in Japan. That's via our distributor, but our distributor is then franchising those stores out to other people. So it eliminates the risk from us, because our distributor pays for all the stock in advance, and it eliminates some of that risk from the distributor as well, because they've got people buying into the franchise stores across Japan. So that's also another option if you can find a good partner, and certainly a partner with a lot of capital, then that could prove very lucrative for you down the road. Just a bit about UKTI as well. We did the Passport to Export programme, probably finished that maybe 6 to 8 months ago. And if you haven't done it already and you are a small business that's looking to export, I would certainly recommend speaking to them and finding out more information if you can. There's a 2-day course which was really useful, gives you a good overall understanding of export. On the course will be people from all sorts of industries, and when you first sit down you might think, well, this doesn't relate to us, it's not about fashion or it's not about accessories, but you'll find so much similarities exporting any product into any market is very similar, whether it's fashion or textiles or industry. And you get great support from an international trade advisor. I think he or she will probably visit you sort of once every 2-3 months and go through a plan for you. And we had a guy that was from a similar background to us, outside of fashion but in lifestyle, and he was just a great sounding board for ideas. If we had ideas, once you say them out loud, you start to realise if it's a go or if it's going to be something that you should shelve for a little while. The OMIS, which I spoke about before, is they can do the research for you into a market. There's obviously a cost associated with that, but it's probably a cost well spent. And they could also do an ECR, which is an export communication review, where they can check that all parts of your business are set up for export. So that might be things like your literature needs changing, or your website might need changing to start to focus on exporting into international markets. British brands in particular, I think it's a great time. I think it's always been a great time, but it's a great time now for British brands to look to export. They're in huge demand everywhere, from USA, Canada, Australia and Asia, right through to Europe. I mean, we're well known for our sort of quality, manufacturing and unique design as well, which you don't get from other countries in the world. And London currently is seen as one of the best and most fashionable cities in the world. So I think it's a great time to cash in on that, because consumers do want to buy British product. If you are a designer or a manufacturer, certainly promote that fact. I think certainly manufactured goods. We manufacture all our stuff in the Far East, mostly in sort of Korea, China, Thailand, and India, places like that. But if you do produce in Britain or in the UK or in your domestic market, then certainly let people know about that, because that will have a lot of leverage for you. Our brand is called Orelia, but on our carding in stores now we have Orelia London, which was initially set up for a trademarking issue that we had in America. But since then, the Orelia London, having London on the carding has really helped us in all the different overseas markets. It's given the brand a lot more kudos, and people want to buy British, so they're supporting the brand more because of that. And often the UKTI at trade fairs as well will have an area for British brands. So they often have a stand there, or they'll have an area where all the British brands get together at the international fashion shows. So it's also worth contacting the UKTI as well to get a bit more information on exporting. Things to think about before you want to embark on an exporting journey. I'd say, is the timing right? Have you got the right budget? Have you got the right resources? Have you got enough people in the business to think about embarking on an export plan? And target where you want to do the business initially, and then stick to that plan. Just try and simplify everything, keep it nice and simple, and just go through it one step at a time. Research the market is obviously key. Make sure before you spend any real money that you've researched the market properly and you know what the opportunities might be for your brand or your business. As I said before, geographic location. Make sure that the market is easy for you to visit, to get to reach, and to go and see your business partners and your customers. And then think about the cost of logistics, or the shipping costs, the export duties, so import duties, that kind of thing. Invoices as well. Just make sure you can afford to lose some money possibly, or that your invoices are protected. So if you're trying to chase a guy in the Netherlands, it's more difficult obviously than in the UK if you're UK based, if you're trying to chase them for money, or in China or wherever it might be. So make sure that you've got protection on your unpaid invoices. And often, as we know, invoices get paid late, so can you afford that 30 days to turn into 60 days? Just make sure you've got a contingency plan or a plan B. Think about factoring, where you've got protection on your invoices, and if the invoice remains unpaid, you can pull the money in from the bank or the business that factors you, so therefore you're not at any risk of losing money on that invoice. There's usually a small fee associated with that, of probably around 2 or 3%, I'd guess. And the similar thing is insurance of invoices, which is very similar to factoring, but with just a little bit less protection. Trademarking as well, just make sure you protect your brand, your logo, any designs that you can, which we've done in all the markets that we work in. There's certain markets, I know that China's one of them, where you don't need to have sold the product to be able to register the brand name. So somebody in China could have registered Orelia, even though they had no relation to Orelia, and then look at selling us that trademark back. So make sure that you're aware of the different trademarks that happen, and that you trademark your product and your logo in every market that you can before you embark in in exporting there. Believe in what you're doing and stick to the plan, and find the right partners is key. We're only a small business, so having people all over the world, the agents and distributors in particular, to help you to do the work just means you can reach a much further market for less effort to yourselves or to your business. And successful exporting, again, just from experience, we're just on the first stage of our journey, and we're only a small business. There's no guarantees, but we think the potential results make the risk worthwhile. From what we've done so far, it's been well worth the risk, and it opens up a whole world of opportunities. Thousands and thousands of customers that you can reach now, and you've got the internet and online, and there's just so many different ways to reach people. And it protects our business, puts us in a strong position, and the generated international business enables us to reinvest and grow into more markets and into more product categories and all that kind of thing. And we just feel a real sense of achievement to know that we've managed to do business successfully in the UK, but also outside of our domestic market. So that's really where we see all our growth in the future.